All right, what's going on, everybody?
Hey.
It is another day. Oh, actually, not just any day. It's Wednesday, which means it is What the F Happens Wealth Webinar. And we finish the day up with our happy hour, Ask Me Anything, where I'm joined by the one, the only, legendary Snaggy, followed up with the secondary legendary Hannah Kessler, and my in-house colleague and partner in crime, Andrew. So here we go. We don't have any pre-submitted questions, so we're gonna just look at Drew. There he is. You know, this morning on What the F, we didn't have as big of a showing, and I was thinking, it must just be that summer is finally kicked in because Memorial Day kind of kicks off summer.
And I got us in honor of the fact that in Buffalo it's not snowed in 2 weeks and the weather's actually gotten kind of nice. It was in the 80s over the weekend. I decided that I want to get the Floyd Window Sour Ale for us. So this is in honor of the fact that it's not snowing in Buffalo and it actually looks like we're going to have good weather.
So, it's not so much that it's not snowing in Buffalo, because it is certainly snowing somewhere, and that somewhere is called Idaho. Mr. Brent Kessler sent us some beautiful photos of him watching mooses, watching moose on a completely snow-covered backyard out there in Idaho. So anyway, we're going to get right into this. We know Christopher's got a question coming up, got Colleen on here, but we're going to come right back to you in just a second. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we are back at it. Another week of Happy Hour AMA, and she is petting the dog, and we are ready to answer your questions. So what do we have going on today?
I got one, actually.
You do?
Uh-huh.
So somebody asked me today. So he's got 4 rental properties, and kind of what's coming up in our economic times. He's kind of debating if he should keep the rentals or if he should just go ahead and sell them. What would you do?
That's an easy one, really. I mean, it's personal preference. I mean, if it's a rental and it's a long-term strategy and they're not looking for capital appreciation in the future, they're just cash flowing it, then keep it. If they're looking to do something else, like I know I sold a lot of my rentals just because the ROI I was getting just wasn't as much as I could make if I had the money in my hand and I put it through Private Money Club. So I think really it's just a matter of just looking at your numbers. And if you've got a rental, like stress test it. Could you maintain and do what you're doing now and make the amount you're making if your rents dropped 15% during, whatever this thing that's coming, this unprecedented event that's coming is going to be? I think if it will hold its own with a reduction of 15% and you don't care about appreciation of the property's value, I would say keep it. Stephen, what do you say? I mean, you've been in real estate a long time and you hear this all the time. What do people do that have real estate?
That's such a broad question. All right.
Or rental real estate.
Yeah. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer again. I mean, you want to maximize the use of it, so if you do long-term rentals, can you do short-term rentals with it and maybe increase the profits? If you're looking to do that, did you buy it 10 years ago where now it's become a headache and it's appreciated 2, 3, 4x and you could sell it off for a nice profit and get out of the game for a few years and wait to buy back in when it's down low. I mean, it all boils down to the numbers though. And where you're located and, even if the market comes down, I mean, rents are they come down a little bit. I don't know, maybe remain the same. I mean, so, that not necessarily going to hurt you or anything like that. So it just depends on your overall portfolio and strategy at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's a good call. I mean, what are his goals?
Well, his goals right now is that he wants to leverage money to go out and invest it. I mean, one of his goals is that he does have windows that he wants to replace on his house, which is going to cost him about $30,000, and so he's going to be either using the policy to do that or collecting from the cash flow that he has coming in to fund for the windows. But really the goals is for investment opportunities and then just his window purchase right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it could go either way. I mean, if he's got big outlays of cash coming and he needs the money, sell it. I mean, he's not going to get much higher of a price than he's getting right now. So.
But again, if it's cash flowing, he doesn't mind holding it for 5 or 7 years. If it's cash flowing positive, might as well take the $3,000 or $4,000 a month or whatever he has on it that's net, and just keep that and keep it coming.
Wait,
You got something wrong with your mic. It's going blah, 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 and then
Rubbing against his neck.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Was that a good imitation?
Just don't clip it up there. Just clip it somewhere else.
Yeah, we're talking about real. Yeah, then that's what you do.
Is that better?
yeah.
See, he gets the really fancy, clip it on actual lapel, and I kind of get it's kind of crazy half brother.
All it was is the mic was touching his jugular, so you were kind of be like one of those people that has like the voice thing.
I don't know. Yeah. Cash goes through your hand, the mic's going for my jugular. We're having a thing here.
Yeah, there we go. All right, well, let's get to Christopher's question here.
I sound like a potato.
Christopher Forbes, I like his last name, like Forbes, coming in from YouTube, is asking, what is our opinion of MPI from Suncor Financial? So MPI is kind of I don't know if it was coined by Mr. Curtis Ray, but, he's the main one out there on TikTok and some other channels, talking about MPI, and most of what he does, I believe, goes through Suncor Financial. And correct me if I'm wrong. What the heck? Yeah, I have no idea what's going on here. Correct me if I'm wrong, Christopher. If you're on with us, that's what you're referring to, right? Is the Curtis Ray IUL strategy that he does through Suncor Financial? So give us a confirmation on that, and I can go a little deeper. I know quite a bit about it. We've researched Curtis Ray probably more than we should have. He's an arrogant little pup. Every time we would just kind of have conversations with him about things. He definitely was the know-it-all, and whole life sucks, and IUL is the only thing you should ever do. But the thing you should really look at, and then I'll get into the MPI strategy and where I think it has a fit, is Google, just look for reviews on Curtis Ray. There's an awful lot of bad reviews out there. This is the first thing I did. When there's somebody that pisses me off, first thing I do, I'm like, what are other people saying about this person? Is he loved or hated? Well, Curtis Ray isn't exactly loved or hated, but there's a lot of bad reviews in regards to his MPI strategy and what he's doing. So you can look those up. And then just for shits and giggles, look us up. Look myself, Chris Noggle, look up the Money Multiplier. Go on. There's got to be some bad reviews. If Curtis Ray says that whole life is such a terrible thing and IULs are the best, well, then obviously other people that have talked to us or worked with us have to be saying the same thing. And, I haven't double checked in the last couple of months, but last I checked, there is 0 negative reviews, 0 Reddits on the Money Multiplier, except for that jackass that brings up Money Multiplier in the retrospect of how it's, defined by the government or by Investopedia. But I don't think he was talking about us, but you could make the argument that he is, but he's not a client, nobody that we've ever spoke to. So now that I kind of got that out, that's the first thing. So MPI and what he's talking about, he's using an IUL, an Indexed Universal Life. I feel like we have to talk about this on a weekly basis, but let's do it again. Indexed Universal Life is a vehicle that we are not fans of. It is a vehicle I know ultimately far too well. There are only a couple people that I know how to design these products the way that they need to be designed. We had one of them on last week on our wealth webinar, and then another one. So his name was Sammy, and we have another guy, Jonathan, on our IBC Facebook group who has shown to us that he definitely knows how to design these. But I will say that Curtis Ray is not designing the policies and the MPI strategy to benefit you, the client, like Sammy or like Jonathan do. Curtis Ray is just designing them around a strategy he's created, but he's maximizing his commission, which is a shame. The whole life policies we do, we design them so we take a 60 to 90% cut in our commission. And Curtis Ray should take, just a little advice from Sammy or Jonathan, who are both IUL guys, but also from us that you got to give to get. So the MPI strategy and IULs, I think, can be a good fit for specific needs and goals. And those specific needs and goals are quite simply long-term, such as supplemental retirement planning or something to that tune, I think is where MPI can be a fit. The way he sells it, he makes it seem like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think he might be overstating it slightly. And I bet you any money Curtis Ray will probably be gone inside the next couple of years when you have this long-standing market fallout, because IULs are based on a participating rate of the insurance company's index. Okay, so whatever index they're doing, and there's several of them, that's what your gains are from. And typically on IULs, the agents, Curtis Ray, will put a hypothetical interest rate. I've seen 6 or 8% as the number they're showing. They're projecting that out each and every single year. In this economic environment that we're in right now and that we're going to be in for the next prolonged period of time, you're not going to get that. You're just not. So right off the bat, you're designing something to fail for the client because they're not going to get the returns that he's showing them. And if it comes down from there, you got a lot of other issues. But in the long run, 20 years, maybe 15 years, could an IUL be a good fit if somebody was putting money into that for retirement? Sure. And could MPI, which is basically just a strategy using IULs, could that be a fit? Sure. It's definitely not what we do. We teach you we teach banking. I mean, we teach you the infinite banking concept, how to put money in and take money out and make it go to work. Me and Hannah were talking early before we went live about Hannah's banking policy, how she funds her van that she travels around in, and how soon she's going to be doing some private money club deals and making her money work. Like an IUL, you can't do that because there's surrender charges. So if you put money in the IUL or Curtis Ray's MPI, good luck getting that money back out. You might be able to, you put in 10 grand, then you might be able to get, I don't know, 2 grand at best. And I think that would be a good day in the office. And that would be Curtis doing a good favor for you, designing it even a little better than you normally would. But that's my take. I don't really like to talk bad about Curtis, but he is an arrogant little pup. And pretty soon he probably will be an arrogant little nothing. But that's my take.
That's Life 180's comment there. But that's the thing is any of the IULs, even IULs that I have seen that are designed for infinite banking and that are kind of probably the closest thing I've ever found to a replacement for whole life are not that good. They still don't perform well. Even if somebody is saying, I'm going to take, I'll give up my commission for this, I'll do it. I've just never seen the numbers work. And I think you were really generous, Chris, when you said $2,000 in cash value after the surrender charge in the first year for a $10,000 policy, because I found it to be closer to like 100 or 0. So it's really kind of close to what it was.
I think Stephen and I have kind of we've seen Sammy and Jonathan present us IULs that were designed the right way, which literally cut Jonathan and Sammy's commissions down by 90%, much like what we do. And those IULs actually performed quite well. Now, there was a lot of risks because you're basing it on the performance of the markets, but it made me and Stephen a little bit more of I don't want to say we're not a believer in IULs, and we probably never will be, but just at least willing to listen to it and speak somewhat positive on it. And that changed our view. But Mr. Curtis Ray is not doing
it. Should absolutely never be used for infinite banking. And both of those guys agree with that. It's a completely separate strategy. And if you're going to take on the risk of an IUL and give up control of your money, then the way that they build those is the way to go. But again, not many people are going to do that because they do give up 90% of their money. So who in their right mind would typically do that? So kudos to those guys if they're doing that, and everybody else out there selling IULs. That's what I got to say right there.
Yeah. Well, and think about it too. IUL is based on the stock market. Where is the stock market right now? At a historic high. So what happens if it goes down? You're kind of SOL with it, right?
The stock market started up about 120, 150 today, and I believe it's down 200 now. So how you liking those apples? Anyway, let's move on from that. Russell had a nice comment here. So Russell's coming in from Facebook. He said, whole life has sound principles and all backed by federal and international banking laws. Thank you, Russell.
Yeah,
and then Life 180. Be remiss not to put this one up. NPI won't ever work as a fit. IMO. Next big class action lawsuit is Curtis and MPI. Woohoo! I couldn't agree with you more. I'm glad you said I was trying to be nice here.
We like you, man.
You're now our new favorite
person.
Put the nice hat on today because normally I'd be just like Life 180 saying that. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Well, no. Hey, I'm glad you did it because I didn't have to this time.
You're a new favorite person, Life 180.
All right. What did AJ say? If I was going to set up, this is a good one. If I was going to set up a convertible term to be converted to whole life within 10 years, and I used your operation, what company would you set me up with? Hannah?
Ooh.
Depends on your needs and your goals.
Yeah, that's a good answer. It's like, see, there we go. Like Drew, we've got some pre-done answers, in there. That's like one of those preset answers. Depends on your needs and goals. That's what happens when we either don't want to answer the question or when we're just like, hey, I don't know. I don't know your goals.
But But yeah, to go deeper into it though, I mean, so really any of the companies would work. I mean, you could go and take a term policy. I mean, yes, it has to be a convertible term. I can just talk about the carriers that we work with, but with all the companies that we work with, all of their term products are convertible term. So set up that term policy. Then when you're ready, convert that to a whole life banking policy.
Let me just talk about one problem, AJ, that might come up with doing that strategy. It's a sound strategy. If you have a convertible term and you want to go, Mass Mutual, Lafayette Life, One America would all be great carriers. But the problem with term converting to a whole life the way we design them is you're going to be limited in the term to converting only the amount of death benefit that you have in term. So let's just say you got a $1 million term policy. If we're going to convert that to a policy design for the infinite banking concept, $1 million might not get it done because depending on how much money you want to put into the policy, we're going to be restricted to only $1 million of death benefit coverage. That includes base and the term riders we put on, which is going to be a relatively small premium deposit. So always consider that if you're going to do that strategy. Your strategy with term converting will work, but make sure the death benefit's high enough to convert into the amount that you actually want to put in. Because remember, the way we design policies is not the death benefit first. It's how much money do you want to save? How much money do you want to put into premium deposits? And then we back into the lowest death benefit we can. And if you had $1 million death benefit, that's not going to get you very far. Let's see. You're welcome, Chris. Thanks, Claire.
Next one down.
Oh, here we go. Got another one. Sorry, they're coming in hot and heavy. So every time I click, it's moving. It's like a moving target. Holy cow. All right.
Holy wow.
So Austin Jones says, any suggestions on who to talk to about starting an LLC for loaning money and or Airbnb? Well, that's an easy one. Yeah. Steven, do you have Corporate Capital's info?
He just put it up. We just put it up in the comment.
Look at how
well, I emailed it directly to Austin. So Austin, just check your email.
Oh, somebody's all up on the email comment ninja skills here.
Well, he probably already read it, but yeah, there you go. Corporate Capital's who we use. They've set up almost all my most recent LLCs, and we love them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Still missed the whole thing. What else we got?
That's wow.
What?
It's quiet today. I think that's
it.
Oh no, new comments.
No, we got a bunch of new ones. Oh, sorry, I just didn't click the button.
Oh, and there's thanks, Snaggy. Okay.
All right, no worries. All right, so somebody else got any other questions? I'm not going to wrap on that, but I'm sure anyone else have any other questions about MPI or IULs? Seeming as though like we're kind of on the roll with that. We can keep going with that one.
Here, can I do it now? Bueller.
One interesting thing that I think is worth talking about is, just everything that's happening right now should really kind of, I'll make a prediction based on the things that we see coming. Okay. Whole life, it's a product that's been around for a very long time. Whole life is going to be something that's being talked about by a lot of people. And here's how I know. Recently, and Stephen and Hannah probably could both kind of chime in on this, but we've been getting a lot of very wealthy families. Today, I was on the phone with a family probably worth $300 to $700 million. And the only thing they wanted to talk about was whole life because of its security, because of the guarantees, and because of uninterrupted compound interest. They didn't want to hear about anything else. They had already known what this was. Their prior, family members had whole life and used whole life, and that's really all that they wanted to talk about. So, it always kind of surprises me that when things turn in the economy, all the noise starts to calm down. And the noise that I'm referring to is, where did all the gurus go for crypto? I mean, we used to, Stephen, when we did What the F Happened, man, everybody was a crypto expert. We can't even pick a fight on What the F Happened anymore. Nobody wants to talk about crypto. It's like, why? Because it was at 68. Now it's down, wherever it finished today. I haven't looked, but 30,000, 28. Like, maybe you should buy at that level, but nobody wants to talk about it because it's not the cool thing when it's down. Well, the same thing with IULs. Not that those are really kind of not being talked about now, but what's going to happen in a year from now when the markets are a negative territory? We officially are in a bear territory, and IULs now can't be illustrated at 6 or 8%. The insurance companies won't allow it because it's just not realistic. So are those going to be still a hot topic to talk about? Because the last time I checked, whole life's always a cool thing to talk about, especially doing what we're doing with the infinite banking concept. There's never a situation it's not fun to talk about. good times, bad times, sideways times, upside down times. It's always fun to talk about whole life because the darn thing doesn't ever really do anything but make money. And sometimes at the end of the day, it's great to make, a bunch of money on something, but it's much better to keep the money you make and just consistently and persistently keep moving that needle up on your wealth line. And I'm sorry, boring or not, treasuries and whole life, they'll do exactly that each and every single time. Maybe treasuries not all the time, but definitely whole life. It does one thing and one thing only, goes up. And if that's not your cup of tea, we understand. Hey, there's lots of people that will sell you one of those grossly overcommissioned IUL policies, Curtis Ray, and you can just give them a call because they'll give you something, a big song and a dance, and next year you'll be calling them saying, hey, how come this thing didn't perform the way you said? And chances are they won't answer the phone because, well, Mr. Curtis, as somebody said, will probably be the next one in jail.
Actually, keep going down.
Where was it? Someone said he's.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I just talked to a guy today or yesterday that was bamboozled by an IUL, and once he got it, it's just like Devin's story. He figured out that he has no access to the money. The rising cost of insurance every year just gets insane later on in life. So he's already got $9,000 in this thing. Luckily, he caught himself. I was like, you can just keep it going and maybe 1035 it down the road, something like that. He's like, listen, I'm just done with it. I'm going to lose the $9,000. I'm moving on. And he's starting a really nice whole life policy with us now. So if you're in that process of looking at IUL, just do it before it's too late, because I hear that story over and over and over again. And it's just sad,
And I think, Steven, to that tune, I think one thing, that everybody on our team, we might have dislikes for certain things like IULs and some of this stuff, but, we're not the type of people that say that whole life is the only thing anyone should do. I mean, hey, listen, there's a lot of needs and goals out there. Whole life isn't the silver bullet that solves every single problem. And we realize that. That's why, like Hannah said, is their pre-scripted thing. I don't know your needs and goals. Well, that's absolutely the right answer 100% of the time, because until we know your needs and goals, we really can't tell you that this strategy, the infinite banking concept, is going to work for you. I know personally, I can't count on both hands the amount of people that I've said no to. Like, this just won't be a strategy that will work. You're living paycheck to paycheck. You're not saving any money. Let's start by fixing the boat that is riddled with holes. You're sinking and you want to start putting more money away that you can't afford to do. Like, this isn't going to work for you. Or people that get on the phone with us and like, all right, so I'm going to put this money in and then I'm going to take it right out and I'm going to buy groceries and I'm going to pay my rent. I'm like, no. It's just like, these are people we just can't help. So we can't help everybody. But, once you realize that, it makes things a lot easier. We're really looking for somebody that wants to help themselves and somebody that is saving money. So, kudos to Mr. I'm not sure. Should I even say his name?
Nah.
Yeah.
Mr. Man.
Mr. Dave Ramsey, good for him. Like, he figured a way to help people that we can't help. The problem with Dave Ramsey is he forgot to let the bird out of the cage when the wings mend. He gets them all fixed up, gets them out of debt, gets them on the habit of not overspending and saving. And then he doesn't let them out of the cage. They want to fly free and go experience. And he's like, nope, you can only use my approved advisors that pay me to take your call. Well, shit. That's a pretty good thing. I think he's pretty smart for that, to be honest.
Hey, I got a question.
Sure.
Can you buy the tips or the I bonds from your self-directed IRA?
Ooh,
that's a good question.
Good question.
I mean, you really should be able to. I've never tried. You'd have to go on treasurydirect.gov and see if you can. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. It seems like it would make sense.
Ask your custodian, because they would know whether or not you'd be able to know
if the custodian would allow it.
I don't actually know that, but for some reason, I feel like treasuries cannot be bought in a retirement account for some reason, but because it's almost like they're like, you know what I mean? Like, the whole idea of is buying the debt and then giving you the break on it. I don't know. I guess we have to look into that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I would think the only way you'd be able to do that, you could buy treasury bonds under your IRA, correct? That's still the same concept, or not really?
I don't know. In the secondary market, I think you can. I don't know. That's a good question. Hannah, I would, start with Treasury Direct and then maybe just get a hold of Horizon Trust and ask if it's possible. That's a good question. And I feel bad that I don't have the answer.
And just as a side note, with your self-directed IRA, the custodian's never going to tell you, yes, take this deal. No, don't buy that stock, but they do have they will tell you, no, you can't do that in your SD IRA. So they're a good source of information to go to for questions like this.
Trevor White's got a great question here from YouTube. He said, when repaying my policy loan, do I repay out of my segregated account or the account my premium payment comes from? I love that. I mean, Han, do you want to take that? Because that's a really great question. And a lot of people are confused by this.
Yeah, and honestly, in my opinion, it doesn't matter, truthfully, which account that it comes out of. But like for me personally, what I do is I have a whole segregated account where I'll funnel money into it from my main checking account, use it as my holding cell, and then when ready to repay my loans, just pay it back from that segregated account just to keep everything separate. But truthfully, it doesn't matter because all of it's coming from after tax dollars anyways, whatever account that it's coming from.
I prefer the pay it back from your segregated account, because you should be making, let's say you pay off a credit card and the monthly payment was $250 a month. You're paying it back into your segregated account. I want to pay off my policy loan with that, with my recaptured money.
Just remember, the segregated accounts only function is really books and records and keeping your money from your banking system or your banking policy segregated. So yeah, I think everything you just heard is exactly correct. Always repay your policy back from the segregated account so you have a nice flow, and it builds habit too. You know, if you start doing it out of the account your premium payment comes from, that's fine, but you lose track of it. You know, I always say everybody's regular account that they pay all their bills out of is like the black hole. It just, anything you put in there just seems to just disappear. So the segregated account is a nice breath of fresh air from that.
Evaporates faster than tequila on a hot sunny day.
Yeah.
I don't know where the hell that came from, but we're going to go with it.
So we got Mary Bobber coming in from YouTube. She said, I loved your video on Turo, which, just so everybody knows, it's a new video we just posted on YouTube. It's awesome. It's this guy, Jason, out in California. And when we were at Secret Knock, he's got a cool story on how he does things. And I just elaborated on it and said, let's use your policy to buy the cars, and then you can get all the money back and make a whole bunch. Can you explain the insurance split more? So, Mary, I'm going to ask you to kind of elaborate on insurance split, because that could go two ways. Do you mean how the insurance on the car is handled? Because in Turo, if you're renting the car out, on a daily basis, you get your insurance through Turo. Good luck having Allstate insure you to do what Turo allows. So, the insurance is expensive through Turo, but you got to do it. Or are you talking about using the banking policy to finance it? And if that's your question, Mary, it's the same as what we always show with buying cars. You would take a loan from your policy, you would purchase the car, you would figure out what the amortization is, 5-year loan on that car. Let's say it's $2,500 for that Lambo. So the $2,500 would go back from, you personally are paying that back to your policy on a monthly basis. But then in the meantime, like we did out that example out in Daytona Beach, that was fun how we did that. Yeah. We literally figured out how many days you would have to rent. What did we do? We didn't do a Lamborghini.
We did a Ford 150. We did a Bentley.
Was it the Bentley? The Bentley Bentayga. And we figured out it would take 8 days. Yeah. So out of 30 days in the month, or 31, whatever you want, you would have to rent it for 8 days at the going rate to pay for the car. So if your payment's $2,500 a month on whatever car you're doing, you'd have to rent your Turo car out, whatever it is, for 8 days in most examples to pay back the $2,500. Anything above and beyond the 8 days is profit in your pocket. So hopefully that helps.
Because I got this question earlier today, Turo is like Airbnb for your car. I got that question earlier today. What's Turo?
A lot of people know what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of a newer concept, but it's a really cool concept. I mean, think about how, if you're going away for a bit and you want to rent your car out to somebody else, there you go. Oh, yeah.
Who said boring could never be sexy? Look at that sexy photo he's got on YouTube. Come on. Like a sexy guy saying, who said boring could never be sexy? All right, let's see. Jim Collins had a question. So in summary, Curtis Ray and IUL is the best option for everybody in every situation. We should always cash out our IBC policies and convert. Jim, you're on it today, man. You must be drinking something good. Yeah. That's absolutely correct.
Hey, so you can you can't use the Treasury Direct website to buy with an IRA, but an IRA will allow you to buy treasuries and tips and all of that stuff, but just your standard like Fidelity IRA. So if you have a Horizon Trust self-directed IRA, the best bet is to probably have them open up a TD Ameritrade Thinkorswim account for you. And I'm sure TD Ameritrade offers those same options. And they said there's no fees involved with Fidelity, at least, or Charles Schwab, I think it said. So I'm sure TD Ameritrade's the same. So you can do it with the retirement account. You just have to use a traditional brokerage or call the Horizon Trust support team and ask them what their recommendation is.
Yeah.
Hey, and since we're on this topic real quick, because I got somebody texting me when she's on the Treasury Direct site right now, and I know tips in the Series I bonds, they're kind of different. When you're talking about your stuff, you're talking about the Series I bonds. Is that right?
Yeah, the I bonds. Yeah.
Yeah.
TIPS are Treasury inflation protected securities. I bonds are essentially the same thing, but yeah, if they're differentiated in there, you definitely want the I bonds.
Okay.
Just look for the one that's got the yield of 9.62%. I think it was. Just find that one, and that's the one. I'm sorry.
6.7.
6.7.
9.67.
Oh, 9.67. Thank you for the correction. Man, that's even better.
Nice.
So let's see. Let's move on here.
Greg.
See. Yeah, Greg.
You got to guess.
We got it. This is. Whoop. Sorry. Here we go. All right. So Greg Dale. Greg is awesome. Oh. Stephen will be back. That spooked me. All right. So Greg Dale said, okay, I'll ask it. What happened to your wrist? I know you think things are going to get rough, but come on. It's never that bad. I'm joking. Just curious. You guys ever see that little monster that we have around the office? He's black and furry and kind of cute. His name's Lazy Cash.
You know.
So I brought him home because my wife wanted to bring him home so he could hang out at the house. And he's not allowed up with the other cats. So one morning I think it was Saturday morning, I got up and he was scratching at the basement door, wanted to come up. So I let him out. I'm holding him.
Oh, look who's coming.
Then something happened and here he is.
Are we talking about you?
This is your reason. He heard his name. Come here, Cash. Come here. Why don't you tell everybody what you did to Dad? Get your ass over here. And anyway, so he's growling at one of the other cats and I hear this. So I run in there worried he's going to attack, one of our other cats because he's a big guy. I kind of just reached over. This is the stupidest thing. Don't ever do this for a cat. When they're engaged and they're growling, let them be. And I reached over real quickly to try to grab him. He flips, grabs me. You can't see the scratches here, but he grabs a hold of me with his claws like this and proceeds to bite through my wrist, right through the tendon. And well, there you go. Yeah. Cat's teeth, just so you know, are not very clean. So it ended up in a massive infection. I'm on all sorts of antibiotics and everything else. Yeah, today's the first day I've had any kind of relief in it. But the last couple of days, I couldn't write checks. Shauna had to write all my checks. I couldn't type, so Andrew had to type all my emails. It's been an interesting couple of days because I've learned how to eat with my left hand, wipe with my left hand, and also brush my teeth with my left hand. So I would say it's been a very productive 3 days because I have conquered 3 major things I never thought I'd be able to do in my life.
That's actually
one more we didn't know about. But
that's actually super impressive, man. I remember when I was like 16 or 17 or 18 or something, I used to smoke cigarettes, bad, whatever. And I smoked the cigarettes and then I broke my hand in a fight or something. And so I had to learn how to smoke cigarettes with my left hand. And when you're driving down the road, luckily at the time I had this old car that I didn't care about because it's amazing how many times you would drop it and it would just burn holes in the side of the cigarette. It was like a car that I didn't care about, so it wasn't like a big deal. But I was like, the timing of it was good. So I know what you mean. It's very hard to learn new habits with a different hand.
It really is.
I got to go one step further, though. One of the reasons why I was so inclined to want to learn with my left hand is my wife is left-handed. So therefore, by nature, she thinks she's smarter than every human being there is, especially us right-handers. She doesn't take advice from us because she is superior being left-handed. Yeah. So she makes a comment to me. Well, first she said, I told you not to let him up and you deserve every bit of what just happened. Yeah. So we had that whole thing happening this weekend. So anytime I would complain that it hurt, she'd be like, I don't want to hear it. And then she says to me, if you would just start brushing your teeth with your left hand, your brain would start to adapt and become smarter and your memory would improve. Now my memory sucks. And I'm like, so if all I need to do is start learning to brush my teeth with my left hand, what happens if I eat with my left hand and wipe with my left hand? How smart am I going to be? So I'm just going to continue with the left hand thing so that my wife isn't as smart as I am.
Where the hell did she come up with that?
I don't know, man. Challenge accepted.
I think I have some ideas, but still.
Yeah.
At least I know why I got all emails from you today that were spelled correctly.
I know, right? I tried to put a couple spelling errors in the emails, each one, so we knew it was authentic, Chris, but I didn't quite make it.
I'm typing a lot slower because this hand still does right now it's feeling a lot better, but I've been typing slower. So I've actually been reading my messages before I've been sending them because when you're typing it that slow, you can actually read it. So I guess some good things came out of this.
Yesterday, your hand looked like, you ever see one of those exam gloves, like the doctor gloves, and you blow them up and they turn up. That was his hand yesterday. It was this big, huge thing. It was all inflamed.
So Christopher Forbes has got another question. He said, if you only had yearly $6,500 available, would you put it in a Roth or a whole life policy? Hannah, what's the done question or answer to that question?
Whole life.
Wait,
I'm going to vote.
It's supposed to be, well, we don't know. We don't know your needs and your goals.
However, I'm going to answer whole life too on that one.
I'm going to say whole life.
Whole life.
Definitely. Steven, you want to say Roth just to be the different one?
No.
It's like, no.
All right. Larry's got a call with Mr. Brent Kessler looking for his first policy. Congrats.
Good.
Chris is herding cats. Yeah, obviously not doing a good job herding cats. Drew.
I got to say, though, so he is an office hazard. For some reason, the cat decides that he wants to start attacking my leg, specifically my right shin, like to the point that he has drawn blood. So this cat is just mental.
Careful, Greg. I'm going to post that one. Let's see. I had to mouse with my left hand due to mouse elbow on the right.
It's kind of like tennis elbow, I think.
I don't know. Thomas must be in the business of mousing. We're not really sure what that means.
Yeah.
Brush teeth left-handed becomes technologically. Yeah, see? There we go.
We're just going to ignore.
That may not happen, Colleen, but hey,
No.
We could all think that might happen.
I sure hope that doesn't happen. I'll be out of a job.
Very true. Very true. I can just figure out how to turn shit on and make it work. Like I wouldn't need Andrew.
Damn it.
Oh, my goodness.
I have to have a chat with the Royce tonight. Text her. No.
Yeah. What other topics, Hannah? What other things can we talk about today? It's been kind of an interesting couple weeks, but a lot of here. One thing I'd like to bring up, and this will spark some questions, is recently with the the turmoil and the volatility in the markets, we've had a lot of people that we started ball and pipe that decided not to move forward, one reason or the other. Oh, I needed the money. I changed my mind, this or that. It makes me think sometimes that people start something because maybe they hear it, they get excited, but then one little thing changes in their life and they get spooked and they kind of go back and I'm just not doing this anymore. What do you think, Hannah? You think that might be the reason why? You think people
one that kind of frustrated me just a little bit is that I just remember this one so vividly is that she is a very high net worth individual, but instead of she says, hey, I got to hedge against this inflation that's going on right now. So instead of starting this policy, I went out and bought a new property and I'm going to be cash flowing that property out to myself. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, there's no better way to hedge against inflation than putting your money into an environment that aren't based off of markets, isn't based off of the market returns or the volatility of what's going on in the world. So why would you go out, buy at the top of the bubble, at the top of the markets right now, and then expect us to hedge against inflation? Because what's going to happen once that thing crashes and burns? Well, now you got this property that you bought at the top of the market, but now it's worth way down here. And yeah, you still got some cash flow coming in from the rentals, but you still got to cut that rent back because rent's not that expensive anymore because of just what happened with the big old crash. I just didn't get the mentality on that, but I kind of understood now, kind of looking back and thinking about it, that that's all that she knew, right? The infinite banking was new to her, and that's all that she knew of what to do to go out and put her money to work to beat that inflation that's out there. So I'm not mad at her. I am a little bit mad at her, but what are you going to do, right? They gotta, you can only lead the horse to the water. You can't make it drink it.
And sometimes people have to learn the hard way. And, hey, I've done it in my life. There's sometimes I've had to bash my head against the wall a couple of times before I figured something out. We just kind of have to be there at the end going, that's all good. Hey, let's move forward.
This is never going to make sense to me and most of you, but sometimes I just think people just need to learn the hard way.
That's right.
They literally just need to lose a bunch of money before they're like, shoulda, I coulda, I woulda. I guess we've all done that, right? I know I have. I've gone for those unrealistic returns and lost money, or soon will with that one stock that I bought in an IPO. And there's a whole bunch of examples where I've taken unnecessary risk and things that I don't really know, like, or understand. And almost always my money flees me. So I just think we just like being tortured sometimes, and we do a lot of self-torturing until finally one day we're like, that was stupid. I'm not going to do that again. But then you do it again.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's, I guess, just human nature, but it is sick. I had a similar situation, Hannah. I had a call. It was Joseph, was on the call with this woman. I think he spent about 13 hours talking to her. Maybe it was 16 hours.
17 and a half,
No one's
I think.
keeping track after the first 20 minutes of how many hours you've spoken to this person. And, she was trying, Joseph was having a hard time getting, the amount that she wanted to deposit. So I said, all right, well, let me call her. She had another product in which I used to have that I got rid of, and she was intrigued because, I got rid of it. So I told her why. And we came up with this whole thing. It was pretty awesome design. I mean, the numbers were phenomenal. Almost like I've only done probably a handful of ones that worked this well because of the amount of money she was able to front load the policy with a 1035 exchange. You guys don't really probably ever hear us talk about that because it's rare. When you do a dump and then you have a 1035 exchange on top of that, it doesn't affect the MEC rules as much. So you can shove a lot more money into a policy than normally possible, which makes the policy just a rocket. So I had this, and it was a big policy, and it was phenomenal. And she was ready to go. So I set the call, and she says, okay, well, do you mind if my husband comes on the call? No, not a problem at all. And then she texted me earlier that day. Joseph has probably 160 hours into this. Mm-hmm. I have about 20 minutes, which is too much time already. Mm-hmm. And I get this text with her, and she says, well, my husband just got home, and I showed him and talked to him about this, and he isn't ready to move forward. He doesn't understand this. I had to say to myself, I'm like, why would you waste our time if you didn't already talk to your husband about this? I don't know.
Or he stepped in and said no.
Just somewhat frustrated, but I'm like, well, I got an hour of my time back, was the silver lining. But Stephen, you've dealt with that before, haven't you?
I think we just got IBC blocked.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that when I was talking to Hannah last week about it, and I was emailing a lady earlier. She's like, I haven't seen the presentation in 7 months, and she's approved and ready to go. And just, I just don't really remember what I'm doing. And so we talked, and it's all good. So the thing is like, we're in this all day, every day, right? Like we're in it. We're talking to people, we're studying it, we're learning, we're doing everything. Like, other people have lives like that. They don't look at infinite banking.
We have none.
Really? This is how everybody does this every day?
We all day, every day. So it's very easy for us to be like, well, why don't you get it? Like, how do you not understand that this is how it compounds and this is how it grows and you can take the money and all that, right? But it's just, and so you got to take a step back and realize, hey, it's 7 months. Like, I can barely remember what I did yesterday. So I don't blame you for 7, like, not understanding. But once you do, like I always say, like, I've been doing this for 3 years now, Chris. I mean, we submit a lot of business. I have a lot of clients now, and I've never had a single person even say one thing negative about it, let alone want to complain and like cancel or something like that. Yeah. Because once you start with the policy and you start banking and you really, it clicks in your mind, that's when you're like, oh shit, like, how did I not get this before? And then once you get it, you can't go back to the other way. It's like that backwards bike video that we always talk about. Like, the guy, you learn how to ride a bike one way, you change one little thing, how the steering wheel works, and all of a sudden you can't ride the bike, you're crashing and stuff like that. And then you spend months and months and months learning how to ride it backwards. And then you go back to riding it the regular way. And guess what? You can't ride it the regular way again. You got to relearn yourself how to do that. So it's just the way our minds work, and it's all part of it. And that's why I love what we do as far as putting out so much content and doing these webinars constantly, every day of the week and everything. And I hope that's what your question was. I was only half.
Here's the devil's advocate out there. I think why I get so pissy with people is because every single night when I go home, I read an article, whether it be on the Nelson Nash Institute website or whether it be Ray Dalio. I go out and I go read something. The one thing that people will do is people will make time for their nightly shows like The Bachelor, The Voice, or whatever, but they don't make time to go out and keep capitalizing on their knowledge and their financial literacy. And that's where I get a little pissy at.
Some people binge watch Netflix. We binge watch IBC videos. That's kind of how it works.
I think there's a lot of truth to what Stephen said. I mean, just because we do it every day doesn't mean everybody's going to understand it. But, Brent says it all the time. He's like, the one thing I love about my job is nobody's ever mad at me. It's kind of like what Stephen said. Like, nobody's ever mad at me. I have a lot of clients and nobody's ever mad. Like, when we were financial advisors, my God, when you called your clients, they were always pissed off about something. You didn't make them enough money. You lost too much money. It was just like, there was never, ever a happy day where it was just like, oh my God, I'm so glad you called. Like, things are great.
Yeah.
Now it's always like, I thought we were going to make this, or I thought we weren't going to lose this much. It's just like, what the fuck? Excuse my language, but
I got to say though, if you do have Netflix, you got to check out the Kanye documentary. It's really freaking cool, man. Like,
Really?
what a just incredibly focused, like driven, like all the noise out of it. Like I never really knew much about Kanye, but it's a really good. It's called Genius, but spelled like Gene, like Jean, and then YUSS or whatever. But really cool documentary.
that's really cool.
I think I'll do that as soon as I get through the next season of Stranger Things, because it's on again.
It's kind of funny. I haven't watched TV in a long time. Since we had our daughter, like the only thing I watch is Baby First TV and Baby Einstein. And there's a couple other ones that, Dora and things like that. It's all I know, So the other day, like, I don't know, I just had like a little time free. So I went in the basement and we got like a kind of a theater set up down there. And I put on Stranger Things, the first one. It was a bit disturbing.
It really
the
is?
end of that, like,
Really?
I don't know. Anyway, the music was great.
Oh, yeah. Music's
The music
amazing in
was
that.
awesome. Yeah. And then let's see, what else was he saying? So one thing I think that would be neat, Hannah, that we could do that, kind of an idea from Drew. I'm always trying to think differently, and Drew kind of sparked this. Since we're always talking about IBC, instead of sending, one gift or the other to our clients, why don't we get IBC root beer to send like a 6-pack of IBC root beer to our clients when they start their first policy? Wouldn't that be kind of cool if we could drop ship IBC root beer?
Yeah.
There we go.
Come on, who doesn't like IBC root beer? And if you don't, we just can't be friends.
I know, right? It was a big thing as a kid, getting IBC root beer and the little beer bottle
Kanye
thing.
belongs where I think the cats belong. We can talk about Kanye, but leave the cats out of that.
Yeah, right. No, don't talk down about cats like that.
This weekend I was talking down about cats. I couldn't even look at the bastard in the eyes and trying to kill him.
So
But
the
anyway.
thing though is that Charlie the cat that he was trying to attack has this massive effing crush on him. So of course he does what any young whippersnapper does, and you girls, yeah.
Well, Kanye does not have many fans. I don't know anything about Kanye. Who is?
I know,
is he a
right?
rapper? That's what he is, right? He's a rapper.
I guess I'm not
Isn't
sure.
he a singer? Or what would you call him? I know nothing about Kanye.
I have zero idea.
Yeah, I didn't.
I kind of know who he is. Isn't he going by Ye now or something like that? Isn't there some new name he's going by?
Let's pivot a little bit. Any of you, like my mother has been following this court case with
Oh,
what's
yeah.
his name?
With Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp and
yeah.
like whatever
What's her
crazy
name?
his name is.
Crazy.
But like, did you guys see that he won?
Yeah.
Like she's got to pay him $15 million. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't watch any
Amber
of
Heard-
that.
Amber
But
Heard
like,
was
hey,
okay.
good for him, bad for her. But like,
Sean has been watching this thing like religiously
Yeah.
since the beginning of it, and I sit there. I'm like, why the hell would you take that junk food in? But I still kind of like get bits and pieces through her, and yeah. So for some reason, she
will never get hired for another
No,
acting
ever.
job because her
Ever.
acting performance. I only saw one thing of it, like from Shauna showing it, and it's like Johnny Depp's getting ready to go on the stand, and like she's walking off, and he's coming to get on the stand, and she's got to go sit down, and she gets like scared and like pretends to be like frightened, like she just saw the thing on Stranger, Things.
She's
at
in the
very
upside
end.
down. Yeah.
And he like just kind of turns around and walks, but like that's terrible acting.
Oh, yeah.
If you paid that girl to act in your movie's gonna tank. Like she'll never get another gig.
Yeah, no.
Have you seen all the videos of her attorneys getting up there and trying to defend
I
her?
just remember lots and lots of clown emojis. That's what I remember.
I don't have time to watch stuff like that. I just
Yeah. I just
mean,
gotta.
if Shauna wasn't listening to it every day, I would know nothing about it. I wouldn't even know
Yes.
Johnny Depp was like in court, like if it wasn't for Shauna.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shauna was very into it, so it'll be interesting to get her feedback on what she thinks.
Let's see, Brian.
She watched the entire thing.
Let's see. Brian is right though. He said that he does have to pay her $2 million, so I guess he's netting only $13 million. That's half a dividend on his.
He does have to pay her. What? Why? I have no idea.
I don't know either.
The legal system is so broken. It just doesn't even matter. All it is these days is like that. That was just the same thing as having like a Netflix series. Like
Yeah.
that's all that was. It was just good TV and people watched it because they just
Wow.
needed some type of entertainment. When I would disagree, like they should have been on Wealth Webinar every single week instead of watching the court case. But who am I to say? I mean, they could have actually learned something that was useful instead of being like, huh, great. You just won 15 million minus 2. So great. He now gets to be in Pirates of the Caribbean, hopefully the next time.
I think you're being generous. Every time I tried to watch that thing, I kept feeling brain cells die.
I'm glad I didn't watch it because I don't have many brain cells to.
Right.
I had a good, teenage time. My professional snowboarding career took care of lots of those brain cells that you guys are destroying now watching these court cases.
There you go.
And I had a lot of fun doing it.
Oh, I
That's
can
not good
imagine
TV,
you
I
did.
agree.
I've heard the
So we're just making fun of it, waiting for some questions to come in. But he won in the court of public opinion. I think,
Yeah.
that's the important thing. Like, he really did. I think he won over, like, the people's opinions of him, and that'll be good for his ratings on his next TV show. How many of you, all right, again, I'm going to pivot again. How many of you have watched the new Top Gun? I keep hearing people say it is the most epic movie they've ever seen. Has anyone seen that? Because I love Top Gun.
No, I'm going to go see it, though. I haven't been to a movie in over a decade. Over 10 years, I haven't been to a movie, and I'm going to break
go watch that.
Just for Top Gun.
Dude, if I need to fly to Orlando just to go watch Top Gun with you, like, that would be a worthwhile trip.
Yes.
No one's seen, really? You guys are watching the court case or watching, Kanye videos. You haven't seen the new Top Gun. What
there we go.
Wrong with
Kanye
everybody?
Ridge said yes, so good. Oh wow. I've heard nothing but really good things about it.
Honestly,
so I figured, it's on my bucket list, man. It's on my bucket list.
There's some guy, I've been seeing it a lot, that has like a talk show, and I guess he's pretty funny. He's got like kind of the accent. Usually he's driving around in a Range Rover and people are singing. What's his name? Anyone know that?
What's
his name?
He just had a thing with Anna Winter.
Talk show host, kind of like a little chubbier, blonde hair.
Yeah, he does.
Does the singing.
He does carpool karaoke. Please tell me.
Anyone?
Carpool. It takes a second.
Anyone? Anyway, that dude, like, Tom Cruise and him do this whole thing where Tom Cruise and him meet, and Tom Cruise takes him up in his one plane, which is like a World War II prop fighter plane, and like scares him. But then then they do this whole thing at night.
What's that?
I can't believe nobody's chimed in with that. Right
there. It takes
James
Corden.
Corden, yeah, him. And then the next day, like, after they do, like, all the guy stuff, like the volleyball, and he pretends to hurt his hand. You should be wearing this. And then they sit at the fire making marshmallows, and Tom Cruise is telling them how to fly. The next day they meet up, and the coolest part is, like, Tom Cruise is actually a really good pilot. Like, they show him flying his planes, and the second day was a jet, a badass jet. And the things he was doing in that jet, like, like, Tom Cruise can fly, man. Like, your dad would be proud of Tom Cruise for his what do you call that? Aeronautical skills or his piloting skills. What is that? I don't know the right terminology.
We're gonna let's go with aeronautical skills.
Aeronautical skills.
Good. We'll go with that.
So Hannah, you should have your dad. You should have your dad watch that.
Yeah. Maybe he can come to our next mastermind.
Anyway, but nobody obviously saw that. I saw it online because I don't watch TV, but it was pretty cool. You guys would be entertained by watching that if you're a Tom Cruise fan or Top Gun fan. It was good.
Brian, I agree with you. Badassery.
For the younger generation, I went to the movies this weekend and watched the Bob's Burgers movie.
Was that decent?
It was good. I liked it.
I'm a huge fan of Bob's Burgers, and I was going to take her out to it if it was good. Bob's Burgers okay, but she's a huge fan, so I figured,
It was good.
Well, folks, I know we've been just kind of rambling about aviation skills. Thank you, Ocean 888. I just must be the medication, like the antibiotics I'm on. I can't think straight. So yes, those aviation skills.
I think it's that we're on our second beer.
It has nothing to do with the beer. It's all the medication.
Sure, we'll go with it.
Yeah. All right. Let's see, Steven. You want to answer Brian's question?
Yeah. What do we got? I actually don't really. I mean, I guess whenever you would need it, right? I mean, if you want to try and put more money into a policy just to see what it'll hold, I guess the in-force would help with what the mech is on it. But why else would you really need an in-force, Hannah?
I don't see. I've gotten a few for a couple of policies. Like with mapping, I've got a couple for like 3 and 4 years. They wanted to see what the actual numbers were, but frankly, I don't see there being a huge benefit for it. Maybe if the dividends have changed a lot and you want to see what your future is going to be, but I mean, so if dividends go from like 2 to 6% in 1 year, yes, I would probably get one just to see, because the illustrations in the companies we have. Oh, nice, Kelly! Hey,
inch by inch is a cinch.
Nice.
Anyway.
But with the in-force illustrations, I mean, if you had a huge increase in your dividends, then yes, I would probably get an in-force because the illustrations are based on what our current assumptions are for the dividends. So right now, let's say it's 2%. We're going to kind of put it on and say, okay, for 2%, that's what it's going to be for the next 40, 50, 60 years. Yeah, that would be a way to do it.
So the simple answer to your question, Brian, is probably never.
Yeah, probably
unless
not.
you want, like, the only reason we ever tell people to get them is if they've got an old policy, that their grandparents started. We say get an in-force illustration. I mean, you can just log into your account any day and get a cash value statement and show what your cash value is.
Yes.
I say if you're really an analytical like that, the only time you need an in-force illustration is if you want to compare like the issuing illustration to what's currently happening in the policy. I say 5 years, 3 to 5 years, if you really want to compare and contrast. But yeah, it's not necessary or in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of just a overkill, the policy.
Because if you're requesting in-force illustrations, you're back to looking at the policy as a product rather than a process.
Bingo. Done. Moving on. Next question.
Next one.
Brian's like, good enough for me. That was a perfect way to sum that up. We got like 3 minutes till the show is over. Does anyone else have any final questions? We just had Kelly Cardenas join us, and everybody's loving him. We miss you too, man. We got to get back together here.
Absolutely, man.
Okay. No one else? We'll give it just a couple seconds here, see if anyone else has any final questions we want to get in before the buzzer. It's kind of like that free throw from the 3-point line. You just got to get down to the thing.
Let me talk about one thing. I'm going to be out in Gilbert, Arizona, so kind of the Scottsdale area on July 28th speaking. So if you guys on the West Coast and Arizona there, I'll be out there speaking.
Awesome.
Cool.
One final thing. How many of you are coming out to Buffalo July 29th, 30th, and the 31st to join us for the Money School event? Hannah's coming. How many of you are going to be coming? Yep, I'll be here.
You better.
You guys really, really need to get your tickets. They're not expensive. It's not an expensive event. We've got all sorts of really cool stuff planned, things that we haven't even talked about, but we are definitely going to rock the house with what we're bringing to you and what the knowledge is going to be and the setting that we're doing the event in. This will be a once in a lifetime thing. You'll never see another event done the way we're doing this. That much I can promise you. There we go. Drew's driving up. Virtual attendance from Colleen. That's fine. That's fine. Should you pay your payment once a year or every month? Once a year if you can, Kelly. It's more efficient, but I do most of mine monthly because that's how my cash flow works. Brian says he's going to be there in spirit. Why only in spirit, Brian? What's the holdup?
I know, right?
Yeah, you opened a can of worms there.
Well, if you're going to do it in spirit, though, at least be in virtual.
It's not the knowledge; it's the application of the knowledge that matters, Brian. In spirit doesn't mean shit.
Dexter's coming all the way from San Diego, which is literally the furthest point from Buffalo in this country. So,
yes.
Bravo.
Actually, that's what I was about to say. Dexter, get your friend Sid on board too, because Sid, as of today, I want to smack him upside the head.
Kelly,
Buffalo? Yeah,
listen, for all of you that I know everybody's like, Buffalo, why would I ever go there? It's freezing there. Do you realize how beautiful it is here right now?
Yes.
It's totally green. It's the most lush green that you'll ever see everywhere. Okay, for those of you that live out in the desert, this would be a nice change for you. The birds are chirping everywhere. The wind is nice. There's a beautiful breeze. Honestly, it's like heaven here in the summer months. Now, in the winter, stay away. But in the summer months, it's pretty darn nice.
The virtual option should be super interesting because apparently I'm running that part of it. And I plan on having some fun with that. So, yeah, you guys get ready that are doing virtual.
One thing people don't know, in Buffalo, Buffalo used to be the cosmopolitan city to go to. You'd come from Toronto and Cleveland and all these other places to go there. Our park system was designed by the same guy that did Central Park. It was one of the prototypes for it. So, our city hall, I came across on a stock site today when I said, like Art Deco architecture, it's a huge deal. So we're a beautiful city when it's not effing snowing. But it is a beautiful city, very overlooked.
So Kelly, I just put the link in there. Happy to have a discussion with you. If you want to come on out to Buffalo, you really should. You'll love it. But anyone else that's interested, we just put the link up. It's easy. It's moneyschoolrei.com/July event. And you guys should join us out here for that. There is a very limited number of seats because we are doing it in like a a TV show studio, almost like what was that guy's name that we were talking about earlier? But
Which one?
Jimmy Kimmel or any of those?
Corden. James Corden.
and Jordan, like that setting where it's all stadium seating, looking down on like the studio, and then like that. That's how we're doing it. And we're doing all sorts of custom things that will be anyway. It's going to be pretty wild. We're trying to make it an experience more than anything, but not to be confused with our event that's called The Experience. So you guys join us. Make sure you don't wait till the last minute to do that. It's scrolling on the bottom there. Stephen just popped it up. And Kelly, if you're interested, let's jump on a call and chat about it. But
Absolutely, man.
until then, folks, we are simply out of time. So thank you all for joining us for another happy hour. Ask Me Anything, and we will see you soon. If any of you are interested, Stephen has a live going on tomorrow at 3 p.m. teaching you all about precious metals, gold, and all that fun alternative investment stuff. And for the others, we'll see you next week, or we'll see you in July when you come out here to beautiful Buffalo summer and we get to spend some time together. Until then, we'll talk to everybody soon.